Hi there, Phineas MacGuire Erupts, Chapter 13. The second I walked into the 4th grade science fair, I had this feeling like maybe I was the dumbest person on the planet, which is not a good feeling when you're planning to be a world-famous scientist one day. I had to walk from the entrance of the cafeteria all the way back to the far back corner to get my exhibit. So I got to look at all the different 4th grade science fair projects. As soon as I saw an experiment about sulfurous water, I knew picking a research project over an experiment project had been a huge mistake on my part. Here's a picture of the science fair. Do you know what sulfur smells like? Like the worst thing in the world. Rotten egg horrible. Supreme skunk stinkazoid. It smells great. When I thought about how I could have spent the last 2 weeks making stinky sulfur water in the bathtub, I felt terrible. I had gotten carried away about volcanoes when I saw what an artistic genius Ben was. Geniuses can be very persuasive people. That doesn't make them the best people to choose your science fair topic, however. The second reason I felt so dumb was that some people had done really smart projects that make volcanoes and dinosaurs look like stupid little kid stuff. Joe Smeltz and Will Rajahid had rigged up a doorbell system with a battery, a switch, some wire, and a buzzer. Everybody was lined up to push the button, like they'd never rang a doorbell before. It was just cool to see one that someone you knew had built. One of the coolest projects I saw was a tape recorder that had been taken apart so you could see how it worked. This kid had pulled out the tape head so he could run a strip of cassette tape across them using his hand. He was recording people's voices and then playing them back, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes backward, which sounded supremely weird. You would think, with computers and other technology we have today, hearing your voice on an old cassette player wouldn't be so fascinating, but it was. Walking across the cafeteria and looking at these projects, I had 2 billion ideas for other scientifically brilliant projects, which made the fact I'd done a research project on volcanoes even harder to live with. The last thing that made me feel dumb was when I saw Aretha's project. This was easy to see because her table was set up right next to mine. Aretha and Roland had set up a spy laboratory. A quick picture on, this is the picture of ringing the doorbell that somebody had made. Aretha and Roland had set up a spy laboratory. They had made 3 kinds of invisible ink for writing spy notes: lemon juice, baking soda, and cornstarch. They had written a secret code and built a decoder device that fit onto a wristwatch. They'd made spy binoculars out of paper towel rolls and magnifying glasses. On the wall behind them were posters telling you about all the scientific facts of their spy lab, like how magnifying glasses work and the recipes for invisible ink and the chemical reaction that make each ink work. On the table they had samples of invisible ink for people to try. They were the hit of the 4th grade science fair. Okay, and picture Aretha in this disappearing ink spy glasses experiment. Okay, and then there's one more. Somebody's looking through a pair of binoculars. We'll learn about that one in just a second. It could have been me. If I weren't allergic to girls, I could have been a science fair star. Instead, I was just some dumb kid who still played with dinosaurs. End of chapter 13.